Yo, what's good, Spirit Squad? It's been a little bit since I've gotten to address y'all, and today we're going to talk a bit about Mono Blue. And that's going to be a list that we've talked about fairly recently in the last few months, so it's getting a little tired and all that. No, not the case. So, this is actually a list that was highlighted pretty well in the recent World Championships, and a few pretty notable players have been on Mono Blue Spirits for this event. Most notably being Kassis, a platinum level pro of past, who ended up getting second place in this year's World Championships, including a 6-0 run in Explorer with Mono Blue Spirits, so you know the deck's good. Also, Jim Davis, somebody who's played Mono Blue in the past, likes tribal stuff, so probably naturally navigated to a deck like Mono Blue Spirits. Except their list has quite the twist that we're going to go over here. After we do that, we'll discuss whether I even like that list, and we'll see what I'm currently doing in the world of both Explorer and Pioneer. Stay tuned. Okay, so here's the list that was played in the World Championships for Mono Blue Spirits. And what we got going on here is going to be our usual culprit of one drops. We've got Spectral Sailor, Mausoleum Wanderer, and 4X Ascended Spirit. We also have 4 Curious Obsessions and a Combat Research. Chilling down here are going to be 2 copies of Spell Pierce to go along with 4 copies of Lofty Denial and 4 copies of Geistlight Snare. Now, I'm obviously a pretty big fan of putting in all the counter spells that you're able to, so having a total of 10 before thinking about Mausoleum Wanderer is not exactly the worst look. Here we've got 4 copies of Rattle Chains and 4 copies of Supreme Phantom, but this is where the list starts to get a bit different on us. We've got just 1 Shacklegeist and a 1-of Spectral Adversary, so I understand what the thought process was here, because Spectral Adversary is a card that I've played in the past, and realistically, it's a card that I think I really like right now. Here, the idea is that you have a 2-mana 2/1 spirit that provides an additional threat for things like your Combat Research and your Curious Obsession, but also on your turn 2, you can threaten either Spectral Adversary or a counterspell like Lofty Denial. And when you're making so many of your plays on turn 1, that's a pretty good way to overload your opponent with flying threats early. So I do like the Spectral Adversary quite a bit. I've actually got 4 in my current list. We'll go over that later. But where the fall off here is just 1 copy of Shacklegeist, and I don't really know that I like that. So specifically in Pioneer, because there's so many fewer decks in the format, you know, there's not really mono green in its current iteration. Mono red is played in Explorer, but without access to something like Monastery Swiftspear, it's nowhere near the same power level that you see out of a format like Pioneer that has access to all the cards. That means that a larger part of the metagame than you see even in Pioneer is gonna be things like mono blue mirrors and of course Greasefang combo. And both of these are matchups where Shacklegeist super thrives, and most mono blue players will tell you Shacklegeist is really the most important part of that mirror. If you have a Shacklegeist and they don't, their life is miserable. So playing just 1, don't really know that I can get behind that, but hey, it worked, right? We also have exactly 1 each of Brazenbower and Cemetery Illuminator, and honestly, I'm okay with that. So I like Brazenbower. Again, I've played in the past, I will play it in the future. I like Cemetery Illuminator, especially in a field that has a bunch of Greasefang chilling in it. So, do I like 1 in the main? Kinda. It's okay. There could be other cards played. Illuminator's good too. Whatever, I like it. It's just an average Magic card. I still don't really like that it's sorcery speed, but like the effect's really powerful, so you get what you get. And then of course 21 lands, 2 of which are Faceless Havens, and the number of lands we've talked about plenty of times in the past, with 21 being really popularized by Reed Duke. I usually tend to play 22 or even 23, but we've also had the talk before about how I simply don't like to mulligan as often as a lot of other people are willing to. There's nothing wrong with playing either way, it's just what your personal preference is there. The sideboard is where shit starts to get really weird. So here we've got 2 more copies of Brazenbower to make for a total of 3, and this is a change that I actually kind of like. Not a huge hater on that, especially since in Explorer, again, unlike Pioneer, there's nowhere near as much mono white aggro. So the fact that Brazenbower can't block most of their creatures, irrelevant here. this is going to get to bounce things like Greasefangs, Parhelions, I guess even Sky Sovereigns, all kinds of stuff. And I think that's a suitable function here. Also, a good thing too, Shark Typhoon tokens against your blue-white opponents, because I'm sure there's still going to be plenty of those. We've got one copy of Cobbled Lancer, a 3/3 for 1, that does require you to exile a creature card from your graveyard, and then when it's in the graveyard, you can exile itself to draw a card. Overall, actually not the worst defensive measure if you ask me. So this is going to require, most of the time, a 2 for 1 on your opponent's end if they want to actually beat this with something like Red Deck, because like a lot of the times you're going to be able to block something and their something is going to be like a 2/1 or a 2/3 at best usually, and then they still have to use a spell to get rid of this. So like I get the logic, and honestly I'm not even going to say that I'm a full hater on this. I might actually like this. So I will probably play with Cobbled Lancer in the same spots that are currently used up with, say, like Cerulean Drake or something. And yeah, maybe I'll end up liking Cobbled Lancer. So to be determined on the future of Cobbled Lancer. Ledger Shredder is a card that all of the Spirits lists this weekend were playing at 4x. And keep it real, this is actually my least favorite change they've made. So the idea behind Ledger Shredder, of course, is that in the mono blue mirrors, Ledger Shredder is just a big ass wall. A 1/3 against a bunch of 1/1s is pretty godlike. The problem with Ledger Shredder is that it only serves as a 1/3 most of the time in this list. So to get your connives a little bit more profitably, you really want to be playing cards during your own turn so that you can facilitate the connive triggers as often as possible. So you want to have this in a deck that wants to play things like Consider, Opt, removal spells, all things that you generally want to play during your turn. But this deck doesn't really want to play Magic during its own turn. You want to play Magic during your opponent's turn. You want to be flashing with Rattle Chain, Spectral Adversaries. You want to be using Brazen Bowers for petty thefts and casting it later. You want to be countering spells. So when the hell do you ever want to play 2 spells during your own turn, let alone 1 most of the time? So I think Ledger Shredder is going to be one of those cards that's really hard to actually make work, even though it's just a generically very good blue card otherwise. So I do love Ledger Shredder, just not in Spirits. Our next cards are going to be Slip Out the Back, which I am a pretty big fan of. They help you beat Supreme Verdict, which is a card that you need to consider when you're building your deck. And it also helps a little bit against Rakdos. So it doesn't help against Rakdos on exactly the turn 2, where you have your flyer, you have your CO, you're looking to put your CO on your flyer, they use a removal spell in response, and then you slip out the back, but then your slip out the back resolves, you have a creature, and your CO fizzles. So it kind of sucks on turn 2. But when you already have your CO established, or if you're just not even trying to play your game around CO, you're just playing creatures, Slip Out the Back's very good against things like Rakdos in those circumstances. We've got a 1-up Witness Protection, which kind of shares the same space as Cobbled Lancer against most decks that are not mono green, but remember, mono green doesn't really exist in the same capacity as Explorer because there's no Nykthos. There is, however, a 1-up Aether Gust, and when you have Aether Gust, Witness Protection, and the Cobbled Lancer, I can get behind this as a solid mono red plan. And the real switch here is going to be 4 copies of Leyline of Combustion, and I'll slide this over here so that we can read it. So Leyline of Combustion, if this is in your opening hand, then you can just put it on the table for free. Since this deck doesn't have red mana, that is the only way to get one of these on the table. The idea is that whenever you, and or at least one of your permanents, are the target of an opposing spell, ability, then this thing's going to deal 2 damage to that player. So if you're playing against something like Rakdos or Mono Red or Blue White Control, something that wants to just like spot removal all your friends, then they're going to get punished for each time they do so. And the second half of this is that Leyline of Combustion, being an enchantment, also helps to proc your Geistlight Snare. So if you have your turn 2 and you just have like an Ascendant Spirit, a Leyline, and 2 lands, then you already can cast Geistlight Snare for just 1. So Leyline of Combustion does pull double duty, and it might not be the worst. So what we're going to do is take this exact list for a little bit of a spin see how we like it over the course of, I don't know, 2 matches, and then I guess we'll kind of go from there. We're also going to check out my Pioneer list, as it is going to be very different from this. I'll see y'all for that first round. Alright, first round up, we're on the play. Our hand is a relatively poopy one-lander, so let's skip out on that. And this one is honestly still not great, but it is much better than the other one was. So in theory here, I want a Spectral Sailor, untap with Spectral Sailor, draw a land, and then use Mausoleum Wanderer to protect Spectral Sailor? Hell yeah, let's go. So now I can put the CO onto the Spectral Sailor and evade Fatal Push by virtue of Mausoleum Wanderer already existing. So that's an option we have here. The Geistlight Snare is pretty good too if I can survive. So this beats out a Witherbloom command from Greasefang. Good, get fucked. So now I can put on the second Curious Obsession and still hold up Geistlight Snare? Fuck yeah. Let's go ahead and get ourselves a land with 2 cards. 1, 2. Nope, no land. But we did draw our 1-of Shacklegeist, so that at least is nice. Oh. Man, I feel like we're doing okay now. We got the double Geistlight Snare. I do still want to draw exactly 1 more land here, because I do want to be able to absolutely not get her out of my face. I do want to be able to play my Nebelgast Herald. I have another Spectral Sailor, and I have a Scooping Opponent. Where are you going, buddy? Anyway, let's play our Unlicensed Hearse, our 2 Brazen Bowers, and our 2 Slip Out the Backs. Cards I do not want include... Oh my god, I'm playing my list. No wonder that was so easy. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Whoops. Well, I guess we can showcase this first. Okay, that's funny. I'm looking for like the ley line of combustions. I'm like, where are they? Why is this so streamlined? Oh, that is so funny. Oh, that feels bad now. That's really fun. I didn't even realize I had a Nebelgast Herald in my hand and the Worlds list wasn't even playing it. I'm just like, oh cool, good cards. Let's play them all. Yay. Everybody's friends. Nope. Well, against Greasefang, I guess it is good to see a list with Shacklegeist and Nebelgast Herald, but my bad. Alright, I'm in for this. No Spirit, so I guess Geistlight Snare's technically worse than Lofty? Whatever. Citrus Supplier, you got it. So let's see if they mill over a Parhelion. They do not, but they do get a Greasefang. Rattle Chains is actually kind of welcome here. So if I can Rattle Chains, untap, CO, draw a second blue source so that I can protect it with Lofty, that seems okay. Can't do much about that. Let's see if now's when they discard a Parhelion, or a Chariot, or a Sky Sovereign. I don't know, some big-ass scary vehicle. Nope, Witherbloom command down. Alright, so now I have Lofty Denial if they want to just hard cast a Greasefang, a Rattle Chains if they want to do something else. Ooh, they shocked for that. Does that mean I should just make them waste a turn? Yeah, I think I'm okay with just trying to make my opponent waste a turn there. So I'm going to play that. Honestly, I am not convinced that Faceless Havens is going to do anything here, but I'm still pretty alright with just, like, I don't know, countering a copy of Vasica's Chariot or something. And if they don't want to do anything here, then I guess I can just cast a Brazen Power. Yeah, I'm alright with that. So, if they're holding exactly a Fatal Push and nothing else, then that doesn't do anything. Eliminate does, but that's okay. So now I can just play a Rattle Chains, back it up. I still have a Petty Theft in hand, and then I can untap CO. I like that. Rafine's Informant I don't particularly care about. I will start caring soon because I'm at 11, so I do need to, you know, kind of take notice of that. But as it stands, I'm mostly okay with what's happening here. So let's do this. Protect it with the Lofty, target itself. Looks like we don't even need to do all that. I'm just going to put the CO here and see if I can solve a problem soon by drawing something like, say, a Nebelgast Herald would be pretty nice. A Helicopter is not. What's happening over there? I can Shacklegeist plus Spectral Sailor. I can Brazen Bower to bounce, hold up Lofty. That seems better. Let's do that. So here I can Petty Theft the Rafine's Informant, go down to 3, counter the living shit out of Liliana. Yeah, let's do that. Get her out of my face. If this is like a Fatal Push or something over here, then I guess I got, but so let's bounce this, go to 3, cry about that, see if my friend Rattle Chains is dead here. Hope not, think so. Rafine's Informant, is there anything to get with that? Currently, the answer is no. So what do I do here? I can, no, I gotta try to draw something relevant here. What do we get? You would have been alright last turn. Alright. So what can I do here? I can activate Faceless Haven, block there, use the 3 mana for Shacklegeist and Spectral Sailor. That doesn't do enough when I'm already at 3 though. I can play this. Okay, so I think what I'm going to want to do here then is just Grizzly Salvage. I gotta let that slide, right? I can't do anything about that. Luckily, no vehicles, so I won't say we didn't luck out there. I think I do Geistlight this. Just in case that other card is a vehicle, I don't think I can beat that if that's what's happening here. So I'm going to just play the Spectral Sailor, signal it as a blocker, and then also get to block with Faceless Haven. So I can do this and this. Take 1, go to 2. Spectral Adversary is an actively good draw. And so is a land, because now I can Spectral Adversary 2 things. Alright. And if I Spectral Adversary 2 things, that also happens to be exactly enough to get this to 4 power, and 4 plus 3 is 7. So yeah. So let's see if they find Sky Sovereign. Annoying. Okay, so I'm still going to get to Shacklegeist Spectral 1 thing. Alright, so now I can Shacklegeist targeting Raffine's Informant and Greasefang. Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. That wins. That wins. That's a winner. I want to definitely use this ability. Autopay, autopay, target 1, target 2. The one that can attack, and of course the Greasefang itself. Now there's no Sky Sovereign. They can only try to attack with this, but I've got 7 power in the air. They say nice. I will actually say thank you because I assume they're actually being polite. And that's going to be the game. So let's go back to the correct list. My bad. All right. Now we actually have the right list here. So let's play the one that we meant to play first. So this is going to be our lovely list that has the Leyline of Combustions, Grimclimb Pathway, probably means Greasefang again. Are we doing this twice? And they've got some sick Halloween werewolf sleeves that I am actually kind of a big fan of. I really like these. Oh, Voldaren Estate, we're playing Tribal Vampires. Sick. All right, well, here's an attack. And I do have the counter spells, plural, for 3-drop Sorin. So that's nice. But I don't really know that Tribal Vampires is the litmus test for this deck, right? Like, I don't really think I feel like trying to erase that. Get out of my face. Now draw a CO. Okay, maybe not. So let's go ahead and get an attack in. I'm still going to hold up the counter spell for what's-his-face, for Sorin. So I'm going to take this, go down to 18. Another Gifted Aetherborn. This time I will use the Brazen Bower's bounce effect on it. Or do I want to develop my own board? Nah, get out of my face. I want to be mana efficient. Fuck out my face. Still gonna hold up the Geistlight Snare. I have Supreme Phantom if nothing else good happens for me here. Hi, get out of my face. Wrong Sorin, but totally one I still want to counter. So let's just get our most efficient attacks in, and if I'm not gonna draw a land, then I might as well give myself a chance to at least, that sucks, to at least pretend that I'm going to be able to kind of develop some kind of clock here. And Aetherborn is gonna be, oh, you're super late. Nope, still not the land. Okay, so I'm just going to play this Mausoleum Wanderer and really hope for the best. There's not really a effect here that I'm super interested in trying to navigate here. Vona, pay 7 life. Okay, so I guess I should make that 7 life not an option, huh? Which means I want to... Do you have lifelink? Fucking shit you do. Alright, I guess I want to try to draw my 1 of Shacklegeist? No, because I can't even draw a land to go with it. Spell Pierce, that's not helpful. So you go to 9, you go to 11, you can pay 7 of that for, and I've got a Geistlight Snare, a Spell Pierce, and a Spectral Sailor. Yeah, alright. So, worst case scenario with the way this current turn is set up here, I'm going to take 6 and go to 8. They're going to gain 6 and go to 11. They can pay 4 or 7 with this if they really want to, but I don't think they need to. Murderous Rider, I don't mind giving the finger to. We don't need more life linkers. And now if they try something else cute, I do have... That doesn't say anything about sorcery speed. So I'm going to make them play around my potential for slip out the back. Yeah, sure. Attack for 4, go to 7. Come on, land, why? Do I have any outs? Well, let's try this. So how can I participate from here? There's a 3-drop Sorin I was scared of, and I think we're relatively SOL here. Because now that they had 6 lands for this thing, I have a hard time imagining how we get out of this. So they can attack us. I'm stuck blocking Vona. Otherwise, they can... I guess I Spell Pierce this one. But it's not like this plan is actually any good. Wait a minute. That's only 7. They gain 7, go to 14, and then they can shoot down the Supreme Phantom still, but they've already used this, so this is not... Oh my god, are they going to pay 7 and kill the Supreme Phantom? Please draw land if I can get that. Oh shit, I think we're about to steal one, y'all. Give me a land, give me a land. No! Why? Oh, come on! We had the Supreme Phantom set up and everything. Alright. No, we just needed one more. So we want the 2 copies of Brazenbower. Man, I guess I don't really want the combat research. The Ascendant Spirits are kind of mid, considering that their ground pounders all have like Death Touch and Lifelink and stuff, or are named Dust Legion Zealot, and I need to put mana in just to get away from their value. I guess this is a match where I want the Leyline of Combustions, because they have things like the Murderous Riders, which will cost a total of 4 life just to kill a creature with it. Sorin, if it's gonna Lightning Helix, is only gonna effectively gain 1 if they want to deal me 3 or one of my creatures 3. The Slip Out the Backs might be okay. I do want all of the counter spells, especially on the draw, because I don't really want to deal with Sorin. So I guess I'll just put into 2 ley lines, and we'll see if I open one. But truth be told, I don't even know that I really want to open one. I'm still so mad about that land. This is okay. So here, they can Thoughtseize away my CO, and I am sad about that. But at least we have other ways to play with other stuff. So here they can go ahead and Fatal Push this if they have it. Looks like they don't, which is nice. But they can still cast, like, I don't know, Eliminate or some other 2-drop removal. That's whatever. Knight of the Ebon Legion, you got it. So here I'm going to get to CO and Protect, which is really nice. But it looks like I might not even need to. So I guess now I just want to draw a counterspell for Sorin. Well, that wasn't it, but go ahead. So here, if they want to attack and pump, I can Brazenbower. If they want a Murderous Rider, my Shacklegeist, I've got Rattle Chains. So we do have a lot of stuff to do. Even if they Sorin and... Never mind that. I was going to say, if they Sorin and like... well, there he is. Don't -3. Oh, well, I'm alright with that. So... I can attack, draw, Rattle Chains to protect. I like that, I think, more than threatening the Sorin, because it's already a little too late for Sorin. So if Sorin resolves, that's... Oh, hey, that's good. So now I've got double Snare and a Rattle Chains too. I'm in for that. Thoughtseize. I am also in for you minding your own damn business. So I'm going to Rattle Chains now, protect my Shacklegeist, let Thoughtseize resolve so that they take the 2, and then I still have at least 1 Geistlight Snare to take care of their next play. So I do like that. And it looks like they're going to choose Rattle Chains, which is fine by me. So now they know they're stuck dealing with double counterspell, untap, Faceless Haven as well. So I currently don't know what we're playing towards, but I'm hoping to have the problem solved, whatever it is. And I will counter that, just to prevent this thing from doing the Lightning Helix. Okay, so now they know the land, they know the Geistlight Snare, they do not know the Spectral Sailor, which means I think I'm just going to spend another turn ignoring Sorin. You go to 7, I draw a card. It's a CO, which I don't really want, but the rest of this is looking okay. 5 mana means that a 2-drop can evade Geistlight Snare. Go blank. I don't even want to counter that. I think I just let that rock. I'm gonna let that rock. Discard these 2. So you can see that I have Counterspell plus Brazenbower. I really don't care if you see that. Alright, and then here's a Brazenbower with Counterspell backup. Let's go to game 3. Do I want to change anything for game 3? I think the answer is probably no. Well, I guess my opponent took a mulligan, so this is a little more acceptable. I do want to put this into play. So remember, now my Geistlight Snare, if I have just a Spirit, is going to cost 1, and that draw was very good, actually, the island. So now my hand is almost... gross. Now, I do have the Brazenbower to bounce this thing, so it's certainly nowhere near the end of the world. And in case of like Murderous Rider or Sorin at Helix mode, I do have to Slip Out the Back to protect this, but I'm still not the happiest about facing this down. I guess I'll enjoy the Combustion's 2 damage if they try to target this, but that doesn't mean I'm really happy with this being on the table instead of just like another card in hand. I don't know, it'll probably be alright. So go ahead and take your 2, and I can slip this out. If you have another... Nope, guess not. Nothing in my upkeep. Okay, that's a good start. I don't really care about drawing a Faceless Haven, so I don't mind just playing the island. And now I've got Brazen Borrower, Rattle Chain, Supreme Phantom? Yeah, sure. So what really annoys me here, this could be a Sorin 4, is only medium annoying though, so I'll just untap. Aha, here it is. All right, so you take 2, and I have the Rattle Chains. Hopefully you don't also have a Fatal Push. Good, leave my nice shit alone. Let's play another land and attack. What do we draw? Another island. So now we're getting into the territory of too many islands, but at least now I've got double Petty Theft and Supreme Phantom. So that's still relatively exciting. I'm not blocking that. Another Gifted Aetherborn, you got it. And do I want a Petty Theft one? No, I'm going to feign Rattle Chains again. Tap. Oh, that's a good draw. So let's attack for 5. You go to 9. I draw a card. I go. So what I can do here is Mausoleum Wanderer, then Supreme Phantom, leaving up 2 mana for a Brazen Borrower. I'm in for that. And they no longer appreciate this. Sick. So that's going to be our first match. Let's play one more with this version. Okay, here we are in our third round. Our opponent's going first with Yorion, which leads me to think that this is probably, yep, I was going to say this is probably going to be the version of Fires of Invention that features, I guess, like temporary lockdown, stuff like that. They usually play Karuga, so if this is not what that is, then oh well. This could just be like a Jeskai control something too. That's also an option that exists. So let's see what happens here. If they don't play anything I care about, I don't mind just pumping the Ascendant Spirit and calling that shit a day. And if they respond with some instant speed removal spell, then whatever. Yeah, that's fine. So here, I'm still just going to play the other Ascendant Spirit and threaten a big nice pump. I can Petty Theft something like a Shark Typhoon token. I've got counter spells, and I've got a Rattle Chain. So yeah, all right. This doesn't suck. They still have exactly 3 types. Ooh, that's nice. That is a nice thing. So now I'm going to get to draw a card. It's a land, which is great for next turn. Like, I legitimately wanted the land for next turn, because now I can cast Brazen Borrower and play a counterspell, whereas last turn I would not have been able to do that. I tap land and a 5th land type for this, so I'm just going to untap. Let's not walk into that. Again, playing the basics, I don't really care about Faceless Haven currently, I think. So if I draw one off of the CO, then that's actually not even that big a deal, I think. But this is pretty big signal for a Supreme Verdict next turn, so I do want to be a little careful about what I'm playing. All right, so them touching their lands but then not doing anything signals probably a Shark Typhoon, so let's see if that's what happens here. Wandering Emperor. Not quite, but also not particularly something I want to deal with, so let's just not. It's like, hi, you're great in the list I do want to play you in, but since you're currently my opponent's thing, get the fuck out of my face. And here against the Omnath, I actually don't want to use my only counterspell. I'm going to put this trigger on the stack and then bounce it with Brazen Borrower. I understand that I'm walking myself into a possible portable hole, but I don't think I have a better option for a more efficient piece of gameplay than that. Like, if I had one more land drop on a table here, then I'd be happier about having access to this Rattle Chains and stuff, but since that's not what I have, then I guess I just cry about it. And they do need a swamp to activate another one of these. So really, I'm just dodging Portable Hole and White March. Oh, damn it. They had the White March. Okay, well, that sucks. Oh, a 3rd Ascendant Spirit. All right, well, deal with this one now, I guess. But even this isn't that bad, right? Like, I can counterspell this. I can still hold up the Rattle Chains here. Oh my god, I don't have a flyer. Oh, that's not the first time I've done that. Ugh, I hate this card sometimes. That's embarrassing. All right. Which one is that? Another Rogren Triumph. Okay. Jesus Christ. That's not the first time I've done that. I assume it won't be the last. Attack with the Brazen Borrower. Oh my god, I'm so mad at myself right now. Like, I could have just done that in reverse order. That feels so bad. So, upside to this, I guess, is that if they Supreme Verdict, I can Spectral Adversary rescue both of these, so that's not nothing. I still feel pretty dumb, though. And they're just going to cast a Yorion here, which I can currently do nothing about. So, do I want to phase out Yorion and Omnath in response to that, untap, get an attack going? Or I think it's more correct to just double pump. Alright. So at least like this, I can threaten the level 3 pump here and make it a 6/6 if they block, and then Protect with Rattle Chains is an option I have. So I'm not going to play this Ascendant Spirit into a potential Supreme Verdict. I think I'm just going to chill. So Oh no, it's a Fabled Passage. So now they're going to get the mana too, so they can do something super huge. Or just, threaten the shit out of my life total. Either one's totally an option they have. Farewell. I guess that is also an option. Why did they do enchantments? They just clicked all the options and forgot they had this on lockdown? What? I guess. Maybe they have another Leyline Binding for this. No? Alright. In that case, fuck it. Just color me confused by that play. Go. Okay. I think I'm just gonna level this up and do this, holding up Rattle Chains. I understand that if they have a Leyline Binding, Rattle Chains, they do have enough mana to absorb. And if they have all of that, then, well, you got me. But if they don't, then woohoo. Oh my god, they just packed it up. Sick. Alright, well, now what? So against this deck, I want Brazen Bowers, I want Slip Out the Back, because I still think they're gonna get into shenanigans with, Supreme Verdict. I don't want the Ledger Shredder. I don't want this. I guess I kind of want these. It at least punishes them for daring to look at my shit the wrong way. Shacklegeist is pretty mid. 6 cards. I don't want these. I don't want these that bad. And I do want to take out 2 of those. Granted, they were pretty good here, but against the deck with like Leyline Bindings, potentially Portable Holes and stuff, I think it's still a better idea to just play the cards that you don't have to put as much work into, which means Ascendant Spirit is going to be sidelined. I don't think it sucks here though. A land is great. Otherwise, this hand is pretty mid. I'm gonna gamble. Okay. It's not the best land, but it is a land. It doesn't give me my Slip Out the Back that I really wanted, but that's okay. So, blue-white. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, there we go. So now I've got these Lofties. I don't know that I super mind walking into another sensor. I think I'm actually okay with that. Oh, and that's not even what happened. Oh, I actually like the second one of these. Alright, so now let's draw a card. Another island is actively pretty decent. Since I've got 2 Faceless Havens, I now am at the point where I actually do want to hit all the things that I'm allowed. So here I'm going to try my Slip Out the Back. Now, it's not as good of a line against a Supreme Verdict, but okay. I was going to say, but it is a better line against like just a second copy of this. So now let's draw either another one of these. Oh, I don't have another one of these. Oh my god. I know Spectral Sailor is not the draw I wanted, but I guess that's what we got. So how many types do they have? Just 3? Yeah. They only have Bant types, so Leyline Binding still costs 3 currently. And looks like we're currently doing nothing. I'll play one of these. No. I will play the island, then I can play the Spectral Sailor and still have double counterspell active. I like that a lot better. But I still want like a Slip Out the Back here. That is not bad. This does suck against Supreme Verdict, but like double Faceless Haven doesn't. So, I will pretty happily counterspell that. And I'll keep my creatures in play while doing so. I could have just like gotten rid of Mausoleum Wanderer, and that does play a little better around a Supreme Verdict. Damn it. But I still have this. I still have Faceless Haven with Counterspell backup. So I can still tag them for 5, and they're off it. Sick. Okay, so we've gotten to play some games with this list, and apologies for that first round. I definitely just defaulted to my regular deck. And that was kind of hilarious because we also absolutely dominated Greasefang, knowing that we had things like Shacklegeist and Nebelgast Herald. And that was one of the really big concerns I had about this list going in. So it is kind of funny that we ended up fighting that fight with the list I actually wanted to play against Greasefang rather than this list, which, don't get me wrong, it certainly has the tools, right? Like, it's got all 10 counterspells in the main here in the 4 Lofties, the 4 Geist Lights, and the 2 Spell Pierces. It's also got a Cemetery Illuminator in the main, which I do enjoy. But honestly, 1 Shacklegeist is still really lackluster on the Greasefang plan, so glad that happened. And then, of course, all 4 Ascendant Spirits with Lofty Denial as a 4X is a non-bow, and it came up because I always do that. Still, it's so embarrassing every time. But it's really funny, so I'm not going to cut that out or anything like that. Y'all can just point and laugh at me in the comments if you feel like it. But the biggest thing that I really wanted to kick off about this list is that it does feature the 4 copies of Leyline and Combustion, and we came across a couple of decks where it looked like the Leyline would have been pretty decent, right? Like, especially against this 4-color control deck that we just played against. And I think the Leyline is If I'm being completely honest, just like a waste of space. Like, and that's kind of the concern that I had earlier, right? Because against the vampires deck, we had the ley line in hand, and we had creatures to pair it with, and so, like, our opponent didn't really care too much about that. Like, they were able to still do a little bit of their thing. Like, they got the Sorin resolved. They had the Lightning Helix mode active. If we, of course, didn't participate and disrupt all of that. But, like, let's ignore that part because we're playing spirits and our whole job is to disrupt what they do. So, like, if we do, then so what? They still got to do their thing. They got to resolve their Sorin. They got to put Lifelinkers on the table. They pointed removal spells like Fatal Push and Murderous Rider, Swift End at our creatures. And all of that added up to the point where the ley line, realistically, if our opponent just had a slightly more robust start in that game, I don't really know that we can participate. And that's only added to when you figure that a ley line is effectively a mulligan. Now, there was potential for a Leyline plus Spectral Sailor if I had waited until turn 2 and maybe drawn a Geistlight Snare for us to be able to use a 1-mana counterspell without having to have a Curious Obsession on a creature first. And there is something to be said for that. That's not completely irrelevant. But I don't know that that's enough of a bonus to use 4 sideboard spaces for an effect that, quite honestly, doesn't matter that much. Like, if you Leyline a Combustion and your opponent's pointing removal spells at your creatures, I legitimately just don't think it's better than simply having more protective spells and keeping your creatures already on the table in the first place. So, like, here, for example, these Leylines of Combustion, they could be more copies of, like, Witness Protection or Aether Gust, or even additional copies of Slip Out the Back, or like March of Swirling Mist. So if you're looking to dodge things like Supreme Verdict, all of the removal spells from Rakdos, or Mono Black, or whatever version of Fatal Push you're stuck looking at that day, or Leyline Binding / Temporary Lockdown, the things like Slip Out the Backs, March of Swirling Mist, or even just like copies of cards like Disdainful Stroke, Negate, and friends like that, I legitimately think just all of those are much better plans, because really you just want to keep your creatures alive and swinging, because that's how you win games, right? Like, your Curious Obsessions on your friends, all your friends fly and have super dope effects, and Leyline of Combustion doesn't actually help to protect any of them. It just punishes your opponents for killing them. But that doesn't change the end result of how your matches go. If they kill your creatures, you lose the game because you don't have a way to win the game without creatures. And Leyline of Combustion doesn't actually help you reach that goal. It can deal anywhere from, like, say, I don't know, 2 to 8 damage against decks like Rakdos, where if you can keep your creatures alive, then you're going to win that game. But that's already the case against Rakdos. They play so many removal cards because of the fact that the threat part of their deck is incredibly average. If you can mitigate the removal spells, you're already going to beat Rakdos, because your threats fly and theirs don't. Your threats can tap down their threats and they can't do the same to yours. So you being able to control combat and keep your creatures alive is how you win these matchups, not by punishing them for doing the thing that they're already trying to do, when if that thing succeeds, you already can't win the game. So I guess my question really is, how does Leyline of Combustion ever actually help you win games? And then kind of the same problem came up in Ledger Shredder, where it really is a card that is just for the mirror. And I don't know that I would want to devote 4 entire sideboard spaces to just the mirror. So don't get me wrong, the mirror is important. And it came up a lot in the World Championships because there were people like Ely and like Jim playing the Mono Blue Spirits list, and I'm pretty sure at least 1 or 2 other of the competitors were playing Spirits as well. But you can, like, Mystical Dispute already exists, and it's better. It costs less, it counters the entire deck, it doesn't require you to have, like, a non-bow in your deck built in. I don't know that that's really where I would want to be in life. Like, Mystical Dispute can counter Shacklegeist, and Ledger Shredder loses to Shacklegeist. Like, I can't really co-sign this card being in Mono Blue Spirits' board. Like, Ledger Shredder is a very good card. I am not arguing that the card sucks. I do not think this card sucks. This card is actually fucking bonkers in just about every single format it will see play in. And that includes Pioneer. Just not in Spirits. So like if you want to play Ledger Shredder as a 4X in say Arclight Phoenix, great, it's amazing there. Like the deck already wants to proactively play spells during its own turn, so Ledger Shredder thrives there. It's great in decks like Modern Murktide Regent, where once again, you're playing cards like Expressive Iteration very proactively. You're playing cards like Mishra's Bauble so that you can Ledger Shredder plus Bauble on turn 2, get your first Connive Trigger, evade Lightning Bolt. That's an amazing interaction. And the same goes for both Legacy and Vintage, where you have things like Moxen, and in Legacy, you have good cards like Brainstorms, Ponders, Preordains, all kinds of cool ass cantrips that you can pair with Ledger Shredder, and it's great there. You have Force of Will, so if your like opponent is trying to participate, you're just gonna go, all right, cool, I'm gonna Force a Will, end a turn, maybe cast a Brainstorm or something, and then this is not a cast Brainstorm during your end step video. Stop it. Before you even start typing in the comments, Legacy players, stop it. Anyway, say that you do have like the Force of Will plus Brainstorm interaction, and that's still good enough to get you your Connive. So Ledger Shredder has a ton of jobs in a bunch of different formats, just not here. And that's really going to be my takeaway from this video here, is that this list, while it does do a new thing and a cool thing, I do enjoy people actively trying to brew with this archetype and make it as different as possible for the sake of maximum interaction with what your opponent's doing. Clearly, like I was super excited to see when combat research was spoiled. I honestly didn't stop talking about it for weeks. Y'all know that. Like I don't mind the fact that people are taking down the land count of the deck to help increase the threat count and stuff like that. That's good thinking. Like the deck wins by overwhelming your opponent, and having fewer lands in your deck, while riskier, does allow you to do that more often. So I think that's a good line to go with. I'm okay with that. I like the 10 counter spells in the main because you want to be as oppressive as possible. If your opponent can't participate because they can't resolve shit, cool, you win. That's usually how it goes. But I just don't think this specific list is where I would want to live. That's all. And that's not to say that the people who are building this list are bad or anything like that. Jesus Christ, no. Like, everybody and their mom knows that Jim Davis is a very accomplished player and has won tons of big tournaments. And for the love of God, these people are still world championship competitors. Like, nobody's going to take away anything from their skill. I just hate this list. That's all. That's not a knock on anybody who built it. It's just a thing that, you know, well, let's be real. I've been playing this deck for like 4 years. So if there's going to be a version of this list that I'm playing, it's probably because I've put in millions of hours and time into it and end up coming with an end result I simply like better. And that's okay to acknowledge too. Like, realistically, I do not think I'm better than probably anybody in that world's field, and especially not the people who are getting like the 6-0 results with this deck. So good on them nonetheless. With that said, here is what I have currently arrived at for both Pioneer and Explorer. And my lists for the two formats are not all that different. The only really big difference here is that specifically in Pioneer, these are negates that I've got in Explorer because I want to fight down things like Temporary Lockdown, with the Karuga deck being super popular here in Explorer. However, in actual Pioneer, I think I simply make these Aether Gusts because Mono Green Devotion exists there, but not so much here. With that said, oh, and I've got a random Reckoner Bank Buster in here for like the hyper increased amount of Rakdos that's in the format. This could be Orvar, this could be a Slip Out the Back, this could be a Bank Buster. Honestly, the world's your oyster. Just make sure that whatever card you're putting in gives you additional play against Rakdos. But for the most part, this does a lot of the same stuff. I've got 18 and 3 instead of 19 and 2, and that's going to be my nod to more control decks being in the format with things like Supreme Verdict. Once again, the Temporary Lockdown deck being the biggest culprit for this change. But you'll see I'm still playing 21 lands here, so I'm not exactly opposed to people building more threat-dense decks in the interest of simply having it all the time, as they say. I also have a one-off copy of Icon of Ancestry here, and this is a card that the Japanese player Hiro Sukai has been playing on and off for some time to varying degrees of success. And I think I like it in this specific list. This list that I'm playing here has like what, 27 creatures or something? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 26, 27 with the Nebelgast Herald. Yeah, 27 creatures. So my Icon of Ancestry is really likely to actually find what I'm looking for. And then for the counterspells though, I've got just 4 Geistlight Snares, 2 Lofties, and 1 Spell Pierce. And these numbers could definitely be shaken around some to the point where you have a lot more counterspells in here. If you want to play like 10, for example, instead of the 7 that I'm looking at, totally an option. Run it, go for it, have fun. I would probably play more copies of Spell Pierce before any more copies of Lofted Denial, just because Spell Pierce, when you're actually doing your Curious Obsession turn, is just super good to protect your thing on turn 2. And any combination, or rather any variation of a Spell Pierce effect is good in that spot though. So like if you want to play Spell Pierce, you see a Guard Approach, Dive Down, Shore Up, any of that family of cards, then I think all of those will be good options to protect your creatures from things when you're trying to put Curious Obsession on. And if you're more worried about decks like Blue-White than you are about Rakdos, then the same statement applies. I would just add Slip Out the Back to that combination of cards. Here I've got all 4 copies of Shacklegeist and the Nebelgast Herald, which is a lot of why when we drew that opening hand, we saw that the Greasefang matchup looked incredibly easy, even when we stumbled, because, I mean, all they had to do was stumble exactly the one time, right? But we had the Shacklegeist and the Nebelgast Herald, and, you know, your combat-based combo deck is never beating these cards. So that's another reason that I like this list so much more, is because like it's streamlined, right? Like you have only 2 of the cards that cause your non-bow with Lofty Denial instead of the full 4, and you still have 10 1-drops for your Curious Obsessions. But because you're not playing 12, I'm not trying to play the Combat Research. That's all that is. If I was playing 12 1-drops, I'd probably put the Combat Research in here over the Icon of Ancestry. But with 27 creatures, I also wanted the Icon. Since I'm going to be holding up my mana a lot more, right, I've got the full 4 copies of Spectral Adversary, and these are going to help to evade things like your opponent doing Greasefang things, as we saw earlier. These help protect your creatures against things like Supreme Verdict. These can phase out big threats in Pioneer, like your opponent's Cavalier green, Cavalier of Thorns. Well, actually, Cavalier Flames is relevant against Fires of Invention too, so whatever, both of them. But there's just like so much that this card can do that I actually am interested in playing all 4 right now. Because now your turn 2s can feature this, or this, or this, level up this, hold up this. Like, there's so many options you have when you have 2 mana available, and Spectral Adversary really only adds to that. And then in our sideboard, I've got the 2 Brazen Borrowers, which is why I mentioned that I did enjoy those in the other deck's sideboard. We've got 3 copies of Witness Protection, all 4 copies of Mystical Dispute. Once again, the mirror is incredibly important in this format. 2 Slip Out the Backs, once again, playing around cards like Supreme Verdict. And that's just kind of what I'm doing right now. Like, I wanted the list to be a lot more streamlined, and I wanted to give us additional play against the best decks in the format, primarily being the temporary lockdown control decks, Rakdos Midrange, and Greasefang. And that's what we ended up doing with this list. And even though it's not the list that I meant to play earlier, we did accidentally play it. We queued up against one of those 3 best decks, and we absolutely fucking mauled our Greasefang opponent because of the fact that we came prepared with the cards like Shacklegeist with 4x instead of 1. So that's going to be my input. And like I said, I super enjoy that multiple World Championships competitors chose Spirits, because as I've been saying, this deck's been performing incredibly well. And that's not even just me saying it as a Spirits focused content creator. People who have had lots of pro level experience, like Reed Duke, also have put their faith into this deck. So if people like Ely Kassis, who is all over pro play lately, and Reed Duke and Jim Davis are putting their faith into this deck, you know, why would you not really do the same? It's in a very good place right now. So I think this is where I would start currently. If I were to play some sort of large event, I would at least start here. I might play 1 more land than this, with 19 and 3 being my configuration, I do want the additional Faceless Haven. But yeah, this is where I would start were I to queue up for, I don't know, Star City Philly, which I'm not going to, but I considered. Or just some big online event. This is where I would start. I'd probably like shake this, add one of these. If you were playing IRL, shake these negates and instead turn them into like Aether Gusts, or you can play these against mono green too. Like if you want to cover the base of both temporary lockdown and most of the planeswalkers and threats and things like Storm the Festival from green, the negate's perfectly acceptable. You don't have to have Aether Gust. Aether Gust just helps against mono red too. So if you're a little more confident maybe in your Rakdos matchup, maybe you don't need a card like Reckoner Bankbuster or Orvar or something like that. I just like the extra little security blanket that cards like this provide, so I'm choosing to play it. That's what that is. Either way, that's enough ranting. We've had fun today. Our matches were dope. We got to win them all too, so that's an extra little plus. And that's going to be it for today. So, as always, if you like what you're watching, make sure to click like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and I'll see y'all on the next one.